She thought you'd chase. She thought you'd crawl back. But when you didn't, when you stayed still, calm and grounded, something inside her cracked. You didn't need to scream. You didn't need to block her. You did something far more dangerous. You disappeared with dignity, and that silence. It made her question everything: who she was, how much she meant, if she ever really had you. This is the one truth most men don't learn until it's too late. The moment you stop chasing is the moment she starts thinking, and not in the way she wants you to believe. If you're watching this, you've felt it. That twist in your gut when she pulls away. That slow, quiet shift when her texts go dry, her tone cools, her presence fades. You've been taught to panic, to chase, to prove. But what if everything you've been told is backwards? Today, I want you to comment, "I refuse to chase," if you're done playing the part they expect from you. Because this isn't just about dating. This is about you reclaiming your entire identity and everything you've ever handed over out of fear. And if you're serious about taking control back, if you're the kind of man who's ready to break the script for good, then the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men was written for you. It's real, it's raw, and it's exactly what you've been missing. It's packed with timeless lessons, practical strategy, and complete mindset rewiring that will change how you see yourself forever. It gives you the clear playbook for becoming the man who doesn't chase, doesn't fold, and doesn't lose sleep over people who no longer deserve access to him. This is the best ever relationship guide for men who are done negotiating their worth. And it's now available, but not for long. Check the link in the comments. We're not talking about games. We're talking about clarity, about what really happens when you pull back, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And we're diving deep into her mind, into yours, into the ancient code of men who no longer fold. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be respected. So listen closely. Every word from here could save you years of confusion. Now let's break this down. Number 1. She thought she controlled the narrative. She's been conditioned to believe she has the upper hand before the relationship even begins. She walks into every situation with the unspoken assumption that no matter what happens, no matter how little effort she puts in, how little respect she gives, how many tests she throws your way, you will chase, that you'll call, that you'll beg, that you'll wait, not because you did something wrong, but because you dared to want her. She believes desire is weakness and withholding is strength. So she gives breadcrumbs. She pulls back just enough to keep you guessing, but not enough to lose your attention. Every delayed text, every half-hearted maybe, every cold shoulder after a warm night is part of a system she never had to learn. It was built into her by a world that taught her she is the prize. She's told from a young age that men must earn her time, that her worth is self-evident, and if you pursue, she is justified in holding back. And when you take that bait, when you explain yourself, check in, apologize for asking for clarity, or wait around for her to make up her mind, you validate every toxic belief she has about how disposable you are. You don't exist to her as a man. You exist as a mirror of her worth. And if you don't reflect what she wants to see, she devalues you, not because of who you are, but because of how you respond. And here's the brutal truth. She never respected you for being there. She expected it. And she's been trained to see your presence not as devotion, but as dependence, because she believes she gets to choose when it starts, how it goes, and when it ends. And you're just supposed to comply. The idea that you might one day walk away not with drama, not with threats, but with absolute finality, that never crossed her mind. Because in her mind, men don't walk. They chase, they wait, they hope. She thought your attachment would outlast her coldness. She thought your interest would overpower her distance. She thought she could vanish for a week and come back to you unchanged, unmoved, still waiting. Because most do. And when you don't, when you go quiet, not out of pettiness, but because your soul has outgrown the game, she loses grip not just on you, but on her own illusion of control. Because now she's faced with something far more threatening than rejection: irrelevance. And for someone whose identity depends on being desired, nothing is more shattering. She thought your world revolved around her, that you'd orbit even as she drifted, that she could treat you like a placeholder, knowing you'd never leave the seat. She thought she could breadcrumb you into loyalty, that her inconsistency would only make you want her more, because that's what most do. But you didn't. You stopped texting. You stopped waiting. You didn't block her. You didn't post passive-aggressive stories. You didn't play the same emotional chess. You just stepped off the board. And that single move shattered her entire strategy. Not because you were cruel, but because you were done. You reached a level of peace where proving your worth felt beneath you. You realized no amount of effort makes someone see value when their eyes are closed. And that kind of clarity is terrifying to her, because now she's not in control of the narrative anymore. Now she has to question everything. Was he really into me? Did I misjudge him? Was he better than I gave him credit for? Why doesn't he need me to validate him anymore? And those questions don't go away. They linger in quiet moments, in glances at your profile, in memories she tried to dismiss. She starts to recall the version of you she ignored, the kindness, the consistency, the moments she rolled her eyes at. Now they become rare. Now they become what she compares others to, not because you changed, but because you refused to be used. You see, she never lost interest because you weren't valuable. She lost interest because you were available. And the second you removed that availability, she saw the value she refused to acknowledge. But now it's too late. Because you're not chasing anymore. You're not trying to reopen the door. You've realized she never held the power. She just held the position you gave her. And once you take that back, everything changes. Not just for her, but for you. Because now you know. She only controlled the narrative because you let her write the script. And now, the pen's in your hand. Number 2, your withdrawal changes everything. You didn't need to say a word. You didn't need to yell or explain or write a long message she'd only screenshot and send to friends as proof that you were too emotional. No, you didn't do any of that. You did the one thing that most men are too afraid to do. You stepped away, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in truth. In knowing that if your presence didn't matter, then your absence would. And when you disappeared, everything around her started to shift. Not because of what you took with you, but because of what you left behind. Space. The space that used to be filled with your attention, your compliments, your check-ins, your care, your patience, your consistency. That space became the weight she never expected to carry, because she assumed you'd always be there to pick up the slack, to forgive without apology, to reach out even when she pulled away, to continue showing up when she gave you less and less. And when you didn't, when you removed your energy from the table without warning or fanfare, it wasn't just a quiet room she walked into. It was a confrontation with the reality she never wanted to face. That she wasn't irreplaceable, that her actions had consequences, that your peace mattered more than her confusion. And suddenly, everything she took for granted became clear. The consistency she overlooked, the care she mocked, the patience she abused, the loyalty she doubted. Now it all stares back at her in your absence. And this is where the shift begins, not in loud declarations or dramatic exits, but in the still realization that she was wrong, that you weren't just another man looking for attention, you were different, and the very traits she found boring or predictable, your loyalty, your honesty, your stability, are now the ones she can't stop thinking about, because she sees now that what she mistook for weakness was strength. What she dismissed as neediness was investment. What she laughed off as emotion was courage. And the more she sits with that realization, the more the world around her starts to feel off. Other men approach her, but they feel hollow. They say the same things, but they sound scripted. They offer attention, but it feels like a transaction. Because now, every new face reminds her of what she had and overlooked. And while she may not say it out loud, it shows. In the way she brings up your name in conversations. In the way she checks your profile but never interacts. In the way she lingers a little longer on memories she pretended to forget. Because the man who leaves without making a scene leaves a mark, not one of drama, but of depth. And she starts to see the difference between someone who wants her for her body and someone who respected her soul, even when she didn't respect herself. Your withdrawal becomes the loudest signal she's ever received, not because of the silence itself, but because of the change it forces inside her. She begins to question her own behaviors, her decisions, her assumptions. She wonders if her coldness was strength or cowardice, if her games were strategy or sabotage. And those questions cut deeper than any argument ever could. Because they don't come from you, they come from her. And when a woman starts questioning herself, it's not temporary, it lingers, it evolves, it transforms. And the man who sparked that transformation by simply choosing himself becomes unforgettable. You didn't withdraw because you were weak. You withdrew because you were wise, because you knew that no amount of proving yourself to someone unwilling to see your worth would ever be enough. And in that choice, you rewrote everything, not just the dynamic, but the entire direction of the story. And now, she's not just missing you. She's missing the version of herself that felt worthy when you were around. And that, my brother, is a feeling she can't replace. Not with attention, not with validation, not with anyone else. Because what you gave her wasn't a chase. It was presence. And what you took back wasn't just your time. It was the only version of you that ever gave a damn. She thought you'd always be available. Now she doesn't know who she is without your certainty. And that unknown. That is the weight she now carries. Number 3. Her ego starts to starve. You were the supply line. Not just of affection, not just of attention, but of constant, steady proof that she mattered more than the world had the courage to tell her. You were the reminder that she was still wanted, still important, still powerful. And while she might have laughed at your compliments, rolled her eyes at your texts, responded with one-word answers to your check-ins, she absorbed it all. Every little gesture you gave her was logged not in gratitude, but in entitlement. You gave and she received, and the more consistent you were, the less valuable it became in her eyes. She didn't realize it at the time, but she was using your attention to keep herself inflated, to float just above the waterline of her own insecurity. It was never about love. It was about leverage. It wasn't connection she sought. It was control. The kind of control that lets her look in the mirror and say, "I must be amazing. He's still here." But then you stopped. Not loudly, not dramatically. You just stopped giving her what she believed she was owed. And slowly, painfully, her sense of certainty began to unravel, because now she was left alone with her own thoughts, and those thoughts started to eat away at the story she had written for herself, the one where she was always the prize, always the one in control, always the one men begged for. Without your validation, that story loses oxygen. Her mind starts spinning. She wonders if maybe she overestimated her effect on you. She wonders if maybe all that attention didn't mean what she thought it did. She starts analyzing everything she once ignored, the tone of your voice, the look in your eyes, the way you stopped laughing at her sarcasm. And then the panic sets in, not because she misses you, but because she's losing grip on the version of herself you helped her maintain. That version, the adored one, the irreplaceable one, the center of your world, is now being called into question, and ego does not survive self-reflection. So she distracts herself. She goes out. She posts pictures she hopes you'll see. She replies to guys in her DMs she would have ignored weeks ago. But none of it lands. Because attention isn't the same when it isn't earned. It's noise. It's filler. And compared to the man who saw her deeply, even when she didn't deserve it, it feels hollow. She may not say this to anyone. She may even convince herself she's fine. But you'll see it. In the way she keeps tabs on your life. In the timing of her messages. In the way she tries to sound unbothered when she finally reaches out. Because now she's reaching. Not for you, but for the feeling she had when she was reflected through your admiration. That reflection made her feel untouchable. Now she feels unsure. You were the constant that gave her chaos meaning. Now your absence has exposed that she never knew who she was without someone holding her up. And when ego collapses, it doesn't do it gracefully. It clings, it questions, it remembers. And while she may never admit it, what she's mourning isn't the relationship. It's the power she thought she had over you. That is what's starving now. That is what keeps her up at night. That is what makes her scroll through your page with a mix of hope and resentment. Because you were never the one feeding off of her. She was feeding off of you. And when that stops, she's left alone with the version of herself that was never truly self-sufficient. And nothing is more devastating than realizing you were never the prize. You were just standing on someone else's pedestal. And now that it's gone, all that's left is the fall. Number 4, your value increases with distance. She didn't see your worth when you were around because she never had to look for it. You were consistent, you were present, you made yourself available. And in her world, availability is weakness. She didn't understand that what you were giving, your time, your energy, your loyalty, wasn't cheap. It wasn't something you handed to just anyone. But because you gave it to her freely, consistently, without forcing her to earn it, she saw it as common. She thought that version of you would never run dry, that there would always be another text, another compliment, another moment of validation she could absorb without ever having to reciprocate. You were familiar, and to someone intoxicated by attention, familiarity is mistaken for insignificance. But then you took a step back, not to teach her a lesson, not to manipulate, but because you finally realized she didn't see the weight of what you were giving. And the moment you stepped away, something shifted, not just in your life, but in hers, because now she had to face a reality she never prepared for, what it feels like to live without your presence. And at first, she pretended not to notice. She distracted herself. She posted. She kept her schedule full. But distraction fades. And what takes its place is a dull, growing awareness that something meaningful has gone missing. It's not your jokes. It's not your texts. It's not even your physical presence. It's the way she used to feel when she knew you were out there thinking of her. It's the comfort of knowing someone gave a damn. Someone saw through her games and chose to care anyway. And now that person is gone. And with each passing day, her memory distorts. Suddenly, the moments she overlooked become vivid. The times you were kind, the nights you stayed up talking, the way you made her feel safe. Those moments play on a loop in her mind. Because distance doesn't erase reality, it magnifies it. She starts comparing every new man to you, and none of them measure up. They say the right things, but there's no weight behind their words. They flirt, but it feels rehearsed. They show interest, but it feels conditional. And that's when it hits her. You weren't just different. You were rare. Not because you put her on a pedestal, but because you stayed grounded when she didn't expect you to. You gave her consistency in a world that rewards chaos. And now that she's chasing the high your presence used to give her, she realizes she's coming up empty. Because what you offered wasn't a role you played, it was who you were. A man who meant what he said. A man who didn't need to be begged to show up. A man who gave because he believed in love, not leverage. And now that man is gone, not in anger, not in hate, but in quiet certainty that his value is better spent on someone who won't take it for granted. And while she might not say it out loud, while she might continue pretending she's moved on, deep down she knows. She knows the reason her heart doesn't feel full anymore. She knows the reason her confidence feels thinner than it used to. She knows the reason her laughter feels forced around other men. Because your presence changed her. Your distance reminded her. And now your absence defines her. You didn't increase your value by doing more. You increased it by doing less. By walking away. By choosing yourself. And nothing is more attractive than a man who doesn't need to prove he matters. He just knows. And eventually, so does she. Number 5. She doesn't know if you'll come back. She never thought this would happen, not because she valued you so highly, but because she thought she had time. She believed she could pull away, disappear, act cold, and still expect to find you waiting. It wasn't about you. It was about how much power she thought she had over your emotions. Because in her world, your effort meant ownership. It meant she could withdraw, and you'd still come closer. But something changed, and she doesn't know what it is. You stopped chasing. You stopped reacting. You stopped needing her to validate your existence. And that scares her more than she'll ever admit. Because now she's in unfamiliar territory. Every time she picks up her phone and doesn't see your name, a seed of doubt grows. Every story you don't view, every post you don't like, every message she waits for but never gets. It all adds up, and it builds not into anger, but into anxiety. She doesn't know where you went emotionally. She doesn't know if you're over her. She doesn't know if you'll ever come back. And that unknown is suffocating, not because she lost a man, but because she lost control over a dynamic she thought she mastered. You became a variable she can't predict. And nothing is more terrifying to someone who's used to being worshipped than a man who no longer acts like a disciple. She starts second-guessing everything. The last conversation you had. The look on your face when you last saw her. The moment you didn't text back. And she starts trying to fill in the blanks. Was he pretending to care? Did I push him too far? Is he talking to someone else? Is he over me? She scrolls through your feed trying to decode your captions. She checks mutual friends' stories hoping for clues. And every day you don't reach out confirms her worst fear. That she may have lost the one person who actually meant it. The one person who didn't want her body but her being. And now she's caught in a loop. She can't reach out without admitting she was wrong. She can't move on without comparing every new man to you. And she can't stop wondering when or if you'll come back. But here's the part she never expected. You're not hesitating. You're not wrestling with the decision. You've already chosen yourself. Because you reached a point where guessing her intentions felt like self-betrayal. And when a man stops trying to decode a woman and starts honoring his peace, something inside her begins to fracture. Not because she lost love, but because she lost the power to summon it back with a single text. And she knows she used it. She knows there were moments when she could have been kind, when she could have softened, when she could have shown gratitude, and she didn't. She wanted to see how far she could stretch your loyalty. And now she's finding out. She's seeing that loyalty has a limit, that devotion has a deadline, and that men like you, men who give without games, don't circle back when they're done. They move forward, not out of revenge, but out of rebirth. And now, every day she doesn't hear from you feels heavier. because she doesn't know if this is temporary space or permanent loss. She doesn't know if this is your cool down or your closure. And the truth, you're not coming back. Not because you hate her, not because you're bitter, but because you've seen what your absence reveals, and you can't unsee it. You've realized you were holding up a connection she didn't value. You were pouring into a well that only echoed back when it ran dry. And now you're gone, and she's left wondering, not about what you did wrong, but about whether she'll ever find another man who saw her clearly and still chose her. And that question, it doesn't go away. It lives with her, not loudly, but endlessly. Number 6. The respect grows in your absence. There's something she never expected from you, not because she didn't think you had it in you, but because she assumed she had you figured out. She thought your patience meant passivity. She thought your kindness was weakness. She thought your willingness to stay meant you didn't know how to leave. But when you finally did walk away, quietly, firmly, and without permission, you forced her to look at you differently, not as the man who once gave her everything, but as the man who had the strength to take it all back. And that shift, it changes the way she speaks about you, even to herself. At first, she tells herself you overreacted, that you were too sensitive, that you should have waited longer, tried harder, reached out one more time. But as the days pass, the narrative changes, because now there's no one left to convince, no one to prove wrong. You're not watching her stories. You're not messaging her friends. You're not checking in. And the more she tries to paint you as the problem, the more her own reflection fights back. Because deep down, she knows the truth. You gave her chances. You gave her presence. You gave her effort when it wasn't reciprocated. And still, you didn't leave in chaos. You left in clarity. And that kind of departure demands respect, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't need to say. She starts to remember the way you carried yourself, the way you never lashed out, the way you stood firm even when she tested your limits. And suddenly, all the things she once overlooked become markers of strength. The messages you sent? Thoughtful. The time you invested? Rare. The way you loved her even when she made it hard? That's what echoes. And the irony is, the more distance you create, the more clearly she sees you. Because now, there's no noise. Just the space between what was and what is. And in that space, respect is born. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it without even trying. She starts comparing. Not because she wants to, but because she has to. Every new man feels flimsy. Their attention feels hollow. Their compliments feel like scripts, because none of them have the depth you carried effortlessly. None of them have your discipline, your control, your calm. She sees now that what she thought was ordinary was actually rare, that your consistency was a gift she mistook for a given. And now, you've become a standard she can't lower again, even if she finds someone else, even if she pretends she's moved on, because she knows, deep in the places she won't speak of, that the man who walked away without fanfare was the one who had every right to make a scene, but didn't. That's what stays. That's what she respects. Not the words you said, but the boundaries you enforced. Not the love you gave, but the love you reclaimed. And over time, that respect doesn't fade. It intensifies. Because now she's not just remembering you. She's learning from you. She's realizing that losing you wasn't just the end of a connection. It was the loss of a man who was whole without her. A man who showed up fully and left completely. And the most painful truth she'll carry: she didn't respect you enough when you were there. But now that you're gone, she can't stop, because you taught her something no one else had the strength to. That real men don't chase approval. They embody it. And when they're done, they don't explain. They just disappear and become legends in the quiet spaces they once filled. Number 7. You become the exception. not the rule. Most men spend their lives following the same beaten path, sacrificing their self-worth for the hope of connection, bending their standards to win approval, and abandoning themselves in the name of love that never really saw them. They are taught to chase, to please, to perform, until one day they look in the mirror and don't recognize the man staring back. And that's who she expected you to be. That's the role she assumed you'd never outgrow. She put you in the same category as the rest, the predictable one, the eager one, the man who would do anything just to stay in her orbit. She believed you would wait, that you would keep knocking even as she closed the door over and over again. That no matter how much she disrespected your time, your presence, your loyalty, you'd be there. But you weren't. Not this time. You didn't chase. You didn't fold. You didn't fall apart. You chose yourself. And in that moment, everything she thought she knew about you began to crack. Because real strength isn't loud. It doesn't beg. It doesn't plead. It just leaves, with its head high and its peace intact. You became the exception, not because you wanted to stand out, but because you refused to stay small. You refused to keep playing a game that robbed you of your dignity. You understood what most men never will, that love without respect is not love at all. That devotion without reciprocity is just slavery wearing perfume. And so you walked, not to prove a point, not to hurt her, but because you were done proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it. And in doing so, you became unforgettable. Not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't do. You didn't beg. You didn't reach out months later hoping she had changed. You didn't show up in her DMs trying to rekindle something that was never protected. You disappeared, not as a ghost, but as a man who has learned. A man who has bled. A man who now knows that giving everything to the wrong person doesn't make you noble. It makes you empty. And in your absence, she begins to realize that you weren't like the others. You weren't chasing status. You weren't seeking approval. You weren't trying to fix her. You simply showed up as you were, whole, clear, and ready. But she wasn't. And now the contrast burns. Because when she meets new men, they feel shallow. They lack the gravity you carried so effortlessly. Their words are cheap. Their energy is inconsistent. Their intentions are blurry. And suddenly, the man she once doubted becomes the standard she can't replace. You were the one who saw her when she was still hiding. You were the one who gave when there was nothing being offered in return. And you were the one who walked when it was time, without a single look back. And that memory, it doesn't fade. It becomes sharper with time. It echoes not through her conversations, but through her comparisons. Through the way she measures every new connection. Through the way she thinks about what it meant to be truly seen. And though she might never admit it out loud, you have become her turning point. The moment she realized that not all men are the same. That not every man will stay just because she's beautiful. That not every heart will tolerate being mishandled. And that some men, when they leave, don't just exit her life. They leave a silence too heavy to ignore. Because you weren't a placeholder, you were a presence. And now she understands what it means to lose someone she never really valued until it was too late. She'll tell her friends she's moved on, that she's better off, that you were too much. But she knows better. She knows that no one since you has made her feel what you did. Not because you tried harder, but because you carried yourself differently. You weren't looking to be needed. You were ready to be chosen. And that difference is what set you apart. It's what makes your name come up in her thoughts at 2 a.m. It's what makes her scroll through your old messages, wondering how she let something so rare slip through her fingers. You see, most men are replaceable. They come and go with the same lines, the same patterns, the same desperate need for validation. But you left a mark. One that doesn't scream, doesn't beg to be remembered. but lives quietly in the back of her mind, reminding her of what could have been, had she been ready. And that's the irony. The man who walked away is the one she thinks about the most, not because of the pain, but because of the respect. Because in a world full of noise, you were the first one who spoke truth. In a sea of ego, you were the first who showed soul. And in a cycle of men who begged for access, you were the one who locked the door from the inside and walked into your own future. You became the exception, and now she knows she will never experience that again. Not in the same way, not with the same depth, not with the same gravity. And that realization, it doesn't just haunt her, it humbles her. Because once a woman meets a man who knows his worth, who refuses to stay where he's not respected, who leaves with quiet strength and never looks back, every other man feels like a compromise. And you were the one who taught her that, not with your words, but with your walk. If you're still here, it's because something deep inside you knows this isn't just a video. This is the truth you were never supposed to hear. It's the truth buried beneath the lies that told you to chase, to tolerate disrespect, to earn what should have been mutual. You felt the weight of giving your all to women who treated you like an option. You've carried the shame of staying too long where you were never seen. But now, it's your turn to break the cycle. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is not advice. It's armor. It's the complete, raw, brutally honest truth every man deserves, but few will ever find. If you're ready to stop begging, start leading, and finally reclaim your self-respect, not just in relationships, but in life, drop a comment saying, "The Stoic Blueprint" right now, and make sure you grab the ebook before it's gone. The link is in the comments. Like this video, subscribe, and share it, because every man you know needs this. And by doing that, you might just save someone from years of regret.